want to go deeper into that really right now. I'm going to try to tell him your joke here, Dolan. My friend Dolan told me this as I came in this morning. This little boy was on his first day of school. It's so good to see you, by the way. It's the holiday weekend, and I didn't know if anybody even come to church. So I'm glad to see you here. This kid, it was the first day in first grade, and he said, "Now, Mom," when he got on the bus, "I don't want you, just leave me alone, okay? I have my little girlfriend here, and we're gonna make our way in the world, and I don't want you tagging along and running my life and all this." So she said, "Fine, that's cool." And she waved me goodbye, but she had two neighbor ladies, and she said to them, "Can you kind of keep an eye on him? Because he don't want me hanging around. He'll be embarrassed. Maybe you could keep an eye on him." So they promised that they would. And so these two ladies would follow this kid around from time to time, and his little girlfriend. And one day, the little girl said to the boy, "Do you notice there's two ladies following us everywhere?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you know anything?" "Yeah, I know who they are. That's Shirley and Marcy." And he said, she said, "Who's Shirley and Marcy? And why are they following us?" Well, he said, "There's really nothing we can do about it, because I heard my mom reading about it in the Bible, and it says Shirley, goodness, and Marcy are going to follow me all the days of my life." Thank you, Dolan. I would like to read from a verse that I have underlined in my Bible many years ago. Thought of it many times. I don't know whether I've ever tried to use this verse in a sermon or a message or not. It's in Isaiah 57, verse 15. And it talks about this amazing, love that Ryan and Brooke just sang about. It talks about this amazing contrast between a God who lives in a high and exalted and holy place, and who somehow mysteriously and unexplainably wants to live with us in a low and a degraded place. In a world where a wasp kills another bug and an ant kills the wasp. In a world that messed up, symbolized by something like that. God longs to come and help us. The Bible, of course, describes this in many ways, and the question, or the way I described it here, was with the question, what does it mean to love? And if I ask you that question this morning, what does it mean to love? First of all, let me just mention this. The word love is not even mentioned in this passage, okay? So that's David's word. If I said to you, what does it mean to love? You would probably have some sort of a positive sentiment, some sort of emotion, some sort of service, some sort of time that you would say, well, when you love somebody, you spend time with them. When you love somebody, you serve them, you help them. You would have a positive answer to that question. But there's a deeper aspect. It has to do with the fact that love is a desire, a pull to come down and help a person in the moment that they are the lowest, that they feel the most defeated, that they feel the most troubled. It's as if, this is what I'm saying, is if someone said, what does it mean to love? One of the things you would think about, and that's what this passage talks about, is there is an element in which, in love, in which someone's plight moves you. It's like you are tied or tethered to their heart. And if their heart is burdened, then your heart is burdened. If their heart is heavy, then your heart is heavy. If they're in trouble, then you can hardly resist the urge to come and help them. Even if they say, Mom, leave me alone, and you still, it's hard to do that, because this is the fearful side of love, the prayerful side of love, the powerful side of love. This is the patient side of love, where sometimes I want to help, but I have to wait. And in that waiting, and in that longing, and in that hoping that you'll just let me help you, is love. And that's what I see here. This is the example that God sets for us and describes in this passage. And I hope that you will just open your own heart to this depth of love today that the Lord describes. I'm going to read from verse 14 where it says, "And he said, build up, prepare the road, remove the obstacles out of the way of my people. For this is what the high and lofty one says, he who lives forever, whose name is holy. I live in a high and holy place, but also with him who is contrite and lowly in spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly and to revive the heart of the contrite. I will not accuse forever, nor will I always be angry." My head spins when I think of the implications of that statement. That God does not rejoice in or wants to go on forever pointing his finger and accusing and condemning. There's a huge amount for us to ponder about God right in that statement. I will not accuse forever, nor will I always be angry. For then, in other words, if I did that, the spirit of man would grow faint before me, the breath of man that I created. I was enraged by his sinful greed. I punished him and hid my face in anger. And yet, he kept on in his sinful ways, and I have seen his ways. But I will heal him, and I will guide him and restore comfort to him, creating praise on the lips of the mourners of Israel. Peace to those who are far and near, says the Lord. I will heal them. But the wicked are like the tossing sea, which cannot rest, and whose waves cast up mire and mud. There is no peace, says my God, for the wicked. So if we come back here to verse 14, the Lord says, if I can just capsulize this, kind of paraphrase this, I will help you, I will enable you, I will empower you, I will bless you, I will provide for you, I will give to you a sense, I want to give to you a sense of joy, of victory, of prosperity, and of peace with your life. You know, in spite of the bugs and the bug killers and the cycle, the mad, vicious, evil cycle, that violent cycle that happens in our world, in the insect world and in our human world, in spite of all that, God does not enjoy or want to see us live those kind of lives. He does not enjoy or want to see people living in misery and poverty, and crime, and filth, and violence and ignorance. Sometimes I just want to close my eyes and go like this when I observe or listen or get glimpses of how some people live. I just think, people sometimes crawl around like a bunch of roaches. I don't really see much difference at times in the way they live because they're just filled with such ignorance. God doesn't enjoy seeing us as humans live like that. And so he says, look, I want to come. This is the essence of this. The Lord says, I want to help you. However, for me to reach down to where you are, there are things in the way. So let's get them taken care of, and let's get them out of the way. The image there in verse 14 is what it calls a road. You know, a road can be filled with every kind of obstacle until it becomes impassable or unusable. You can have along a road all kinds of potholes or dangerous cliffs on the side or low-hanging wires or tree branches that stick out and obscure the signs. By the way, those of you who live at Montgomery Church Road, Sam, I noticed you got a tree branch covering a sign up there. You need to go out there and whack that thing off. Anyway, I'll help you. Give me a call. You know, it could be snow drifts in the wintertime, flooding in the summertime, all kinds of reasons and all kinds of things that make roads block or unable to be used, impediments, obstructions on the road. And the Lord is saying here, using this image of a road, prepare the road. Get the obstacles out of the way, because I want to come down. The next verse, basically the reason why he's saying this is, I'm way far away from you. I live in a high and exalted place. My residence or my abode or my dwelling, the Lord says, is way beyond, way far removed from you. Live in a high and a holy place. Does that mean I don't care about you? Does that mean if I live way up here on a cliff in my mansion, way up here on a hilltop in my mansion, and you're down here in some squalid hovel somewhere, and you look up there and you see, does that mean I don't care about you in your misery or in your problems? Does that mean I'm disinterested or have no love? No. I want to come out of my high holy world. I want to come down into the miserable place that you live and where you are. I want to travel thy way to come down. That's why I'm asking you to remove the obstacles, the things that would keep me from doing that. It does not mean that I have no interest in you. I want to come and visit and dwell with you. Verse 57 or verse 15. This is what the high and lofty one says, who lives forever, whose name is holy. I live in a high and holy place. But I'm not, because I live in a holy world, doesn't mean that I will not or have no interest in the unholy world of humanity or of your heart. I want to come. I want to be involved. I want to set up residence and help you and direct you and empower you. I want to give to you the kind of life that I have. That is the desire of my heart. That is the goal of my heart. And the reason, this goes back to this question, what does it mean to love? The reason is something that every single parent can identify with. Every single grandparent can identify with. When your child is out here wallowing in some sort of problem or some sort of behavior or some sort of a circumstance that's causing them to struggle, I don't care how far removed from it you are. I don't care how high and holy a hill that you live on. There is a pull at your heart. There is a distress. The distress and the discouragement of your child holds on to you and pulls you. This is what love is. This is what it means to love. That you can be far removed in circumstance and you can be right there in heart, right there in your attitude. And this is what the Lord is saying. When we, His people, and I mean His human people, when He uses the word contrite, I will dwell with him who is lowly and revive the heart of the contrite. The Hebrew word means to be crushed. Just to be crushed. You know, we think of contrition, I think, as a sort of a guilt or shame or saying, oh, I wish I had never said that. I wish I had never done that. Just this feeling of low-down misery that we have done something. I mean, contrition is sorrow. And the Lord says, I can live with sorrowful people and sorry people. The sorrowfulness, the shame, the guilt, the mess draws me and pulls me toward you. I live in a high and holy place. But when you're crushed or you're lonely or you're weak or you're ashamed or repentant, that pulls on my heart. And so the Lord says, I want to come. This is what I would like to do. I'd like to save you and strengthen you. So help me out. Clear away the obstacles that would keep me from being involved in your life, from coming to where you are and saving you and strengthening you. In verse 16, it says, and I put this in a question. It's not a question, but I paraphrased it or put it in a question for this reason. I want to jar you for a moment. I really want to make you answer this as a question. And sometimes we just say, well, this is what I'm like. We say, yeah. But I'm asking it like this. Do you really think that I would be like that? Because it makes you actually say, well, what is God like? What do I think He is like? And I ask this in a question because God has gotten a reputation in this fallen, sinful world. I've heard it said over and over. There's all kinds of skeptics. There's all kinds of doubters. There's all kinds of haters who would say in a heartbeat, oh, God loves to punish people. God's just happy He can send you to hell. God wants to just black the whole world out. He wants to just singe everybody and hide the hair and be done. That God loves it when people kind of self-destruct. God has gotten that reputation in a lot of ways from a lot of people. He's a God of wrath. He loves it. He glorifies in it. That's why He made hell, just to kind of singe and burn and destroy everybody that He can. And God just kind of rubs His hands in glee when He thinks of sending people to hell. You ever heard people act or talk like that, or seem to have this kind of a reputation about God? He's saying here, as again, I put it in a question for Him. He says it flat out. I do not enjoy accusing you of wrong. I do not enjoy being angry at people. That is not my heart. That is not my desire. That is not my intention. I do not condemn you because I enjoy condemnation. That's what the Lord is saying. God does not love to be accusatory. He does not love to be angry. I know that many people here are meat eaters. Do an illustration for a second. Probably not everybody, but most of us eat meat, enjoy eating meat, and so forth. If you eat meat, I do not think that it is necessarily true that because you enjoy eating meat, or you do eat meat, that you delight in killing. Now, we all understand this conundrum that for us to eat meat, killing has to happen. It has to be a slaughter, and somehow an animal. And whether you buy your meat or get your meat in a domestic setting like a grocery store, or you go to a butcher shop, or whether you go out here in the hills and you hunt and you kill a deer or whatever and you bring it home and prepare it, or have someone else prepare it, no matter what the process is, it all goes back to one thing. At some point, somewhere, some animal has to die for us to consume the meat that we do in our diet. I hunt, enjoy hunting. I enjoy all the aspects of it. I think every single aspect of it I can say I enjoy, except one, and that is the killing. And I would say 99.99% of any hunter or person who does that kind of thing would tell you the same thing. Even if you enjoy the stalk or the pursuit or the thrill of trying to match wits with an animal, doesn't mean that you enjoy or want to kill. There's this moment in here, there's this one item on the agenda that you can't escape. It's inescapable. You can't get around it. You wish you could. You wish there was some other way. But to have the end result that you want or need, this has to happen. Is it fair to say to every person who eats meat, oh, you loved it. You just love to kill. You just want to go out here and kill stuff. That's all you're just interested in slaughter. I don't think it would be fair. I don't think it would be accurate. So it is with God when He accuses us, or His righteousness points out our unrighteousness. It would not be fair or right to accuse Him, and as I say, He has often been accused of this, but it is not fair to accuse Him. Then why does God point His finger at us? Why does the Lord say, you are a sinner, or you need to change, or this is wrong, or this is unacceptable, or this is dangerous, or I will punish you? Why does He say these things? If that's not what his nature, or this is not what he enjoys doing. It's kind of asking like a sort of a, why do you kill something if you don't enjoy killing it just because you want to eat meat? Okay. This is an image that came to my mind. I don't know if you can see it well or not. It's not the greatest picture, but I had trouble finding some. This is a laser beam. And I have a little box there in your sermon note that ties in with this. What is it that makes a laser such a wonderful reference that we use it in levels, and we use it in all kinds of tools and instruments to build skyscrapers and to make furniture and to install cabinets and to do all kinds, build houses and all sorts of things. I mean, a laser is a level on steroids. A laser takes the concept of level or plumb and can extend it out 100 yards. Something you could never do with an old-fashioned level. A laser is a wonderful instrument, and it's used in all sorts of instruments for building and so forth. Well, the great thing about, or the reason that a laser can be used this way, and the reason that it's so accurate and helpful is it's perfectly straight. The line, the light is perfectly straight. And you may say, well, that's cool. Whoever invented that deserves a lot of credit. Whoever figured out how to make a line so straight that you can use it as the reference for all other lines is pretty smart. But then, what I want us to realize is, we have to realize, or back up and realize this. Nobody invented it. There is no way that you can make a straight laser straight, or a straight laser crooked. This is the nature of light. It's not about the instrument. It doesn't matter about the application, what it is. It's going to travel in a straight line because it's the nature of it. A laser just enables it to be so tightly focused that those waves are so compacted together that, I mean, you can see that straight line, that's all. And even though we know that light travels in waves, we know that for human purposes and from our point of view and satisfy our eyeballs and the needs of our lives, it's as line as straight as it can be. If you think you bent light, you just kind of, well, anyway. It's not that a laser enjoys being straight. A laser just is straight. It really has no other options. This is just the character. This is just the nature of what it is. It's not that God makes a decision that says, I'm going to accuse people of being wrong. I'm going to accuse people, I'm going to delight in telling people how evil they are. No, God doesn't have any choice. It is the nature of God to be righteous. The word righteous, zedek in the Old Testament, it means straight. That's what it means. Melchizedek, king of righteousness. Straight arrow is what it means. Ruler and straight arrow. That's what Melchizedek means. It's the nature of God. Not to be wrong, not to be crooked, not to waver, not to wander in and out. There is no variation or shadow due to change or turning, it says in the book of James. So the Lord says, look, what do you think I enjoy? Being straight? It's just the way I am. I'm just straight. And so this is the nuance of what I'm trying to say of this phrase, I will not accuse forever. He's saying, I don't accuse because I like the moment of saying, I got you. No. That's not the essence. This also I'm asking as a question, but it's there in the statement. I will not always accuse. I will not always be angry, because if I did, this is verse 16, The spirit of man would grow faint before me, the breath of man, the soul of man that I have created. If God did delight in punishing, if it made God happy to fry folks, we'd all be fried a long time ago. That's what he's saying. We would no longer even be in existence. And somehow, with that capability, with the ability to annihilate or destroy us if he so chose, we're all still here. And so the Lord is saying, and this is coming back to what does it mean to love? Can you even remotely dream or grasp of how deep my love is? Or how horrible it would be if my love was turned off? No, you cannot. You cannot really even get a hold of that. Why? God cares of why this disparity between the fact that he's so discouraged at his creation and that we have to live in such shame and contrition and repentance in order to even get communicate fellowship with God. And he's way beyond and above us. Why this separation? Why is this situation that God puts up with this? He cares about us because he created us, and because he created us and cares about us, he wants to fix us. He wants to fix it. But this is a very delicate situation. He wants to fix our brokenness. But if you're a dad or a mother, or a grandma or a grandpa, you know that there are times in the overwhelming depth of your love. There are times where you want to just go, and you just want to beat some kid or pound them or something. I mean, there are times where maybe you do a little more than is necessary. I don't know. But sometimes God does punish us, and sometimes, rather than pounding, I'm just using the word pulling, sometimes he's saying, listen, come here. Let me influence you. Let me teach you. Let me draw you. Let me inspire you and pull you to a higher way of living and a better way of understanding. I can help you, David. You're so ignorant. I know so much that could help you. Sometimes the Lord just shows me the light. Sometimes he beats me until I try to get to the direction of the light. And this thing called love is a mixture. A delicate balance. I remember Dr. Dobson was a wonderful influence of millions of people. Used to, in one of his books, and one of his most, I guess, well-known sayings about raising children was, shape the will without breaking the spirit. And it's a very wonderful statement of the goal of love, raising a kid. You want to shape their will, you want to inspire them. You don't want to do it by pounding or beating, or clubbing, or in something that somehow breaks their spirit. So, what does it mean? Oh, if God did that, what he's saying there earlier, I think, is if I did that, if all I did was just to pound on you, eventually you would submit, but there would be nothing meaningful about your submission. It would not come from your heart. And you wouldn't really have the ability to respond. Eventually you would just say, whatever, and you would be like a slave or a robot, and you would do what I wanted you to do, and it wouldn't matter to you, and you would have no understanding or desire to do it. If that's all I did, he says, you would grow faint before me. So that's why the Lord says, I feel like pounding. I could accuse you forever, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stop and draw back at times. What does it mean to love? One of the things that this passage is pointing out to us is saying, I will not accuse you forever. I will not always be angry, even though I could be. Even though it would certainly be understandable if I was so mad at you that I never came, that I never ever changed. Because again, he wants a submission of our heart. He doesn't want just submission. He wants a voluntary submission of our hearts. And so that's what it means to love. That's what we want when we love our kids, our grandkids. That's what we hope to have, and that's what we look for. Okay. What is he talking about, verse 7? Or 17, I'm sorry. He's going back to Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, the very beginnings, and first sin. God is basically remembering something. And what he's remembering is that originally, when the first sin happened, and when sin entered into the hearts of the world and the blood of mankind and the bloodstream of all of its descendants, when that happened, what did God do? Did he blast Adam and Eve off the earth and just destroy mankind and start over? He almost did, but he did not. He could have just annihilated us and started over if he wanted to, but he did not. What he did was said to Adam and Eve, I'm so mad I can't talk about this right now. I don't want to see your face. Just go. Get out of my presence. Remember the story in the Garden of Eden. And God separated himself. He walked out of the room, or sent us out of the room. And he put an angel there and said, don't come back in until I tell you. I'm so mad right now that I would destroy you if we don't get some separation. And so this is what it says in verse 17. I was enraged. I punished him and hid my face in anger. But it didn't work. He didn't get the message. It didn't seem to bother him one bit. He just kept right on doing the thing that had made me so angry in the beginning, in the first place. So, I didn't kill him. I didn't vaporize him. I did not destroy him. Why? What does that mean? Does that mean God really didn't care about Adam and Eve? He really don't care if we do wrong? He's a straight laser arrow, but it's all right if we wave and weave and wobble. Is that what it means? That he didn't destroy him because he really didn't care enough? Or did it mean that he really just didn't know what he could do about it? He unleashed this monster, he created these people, and now they've disobeyed him and they've gone off on the wrong, and they've allowed Satan, his rival, to tempt them and draw them away, and there's not much he can do about it. Is that what it means? No. Don't mean any of that stuff. It means he's patient. What does it mean to love? Does it mean that you got to act every time that you could? Does it mean you have to act as authoritatively or as overwhelmingly as you could? No. Does it mean you got to act immediately to carry out the vindication of every feeling that you have or emotion? No. It means that sometimes you're just patient. And so patient is this God who lives in a high and holy place that incredibly, in the midst of and to the most undeserving, those people who had defied him, you and I, he makes an offer. And he says, I have seen his ways. Even I punished him, I hid my face, I separated, but he kept on in his willful ways. I have seen his ways. Stop. I will heal him. God is willing to forgive you and me and all of us. He is willing to forgive us. He is enraged at our sin. But the compassion that he has for us, the sinner, come together in this thunderclap. This come together in this determination. I'm I'm not going to fight it, I'm going to fix it. You know, problems take people two different ways. Some people, when they have a problem, they just give in. Some people fight back, and some people say, I don't really feel I need to do either. I'm gonna change it. I want to fix it. So that I don't have to fight it, and I don't have to give in to it, or be defeated by it. And this is what the Lord, I believe, is saying in verse 18. I have seen his ways. Don't think I don't understand depravity. Don't think it didn't hit me hard when Adam and Eve went against the very Creator who lovingly put them there and gave them life. And yet I will restore them and I will guide them. I'm just amazed that he's saying, I will guide him and I will restore comfort to him and create praise on the lips of people that mourn. I mean, people, what that means is people who live in the slop and the filth and the ignorance and the violence and the craziness of our world today. People who mourn and say, oh, I wish there was a better way to live. The Lord said, I'm going to create a place, a way, that's something that will put praise on their lips. And they'll realize there really is a better way. This is this verse in a couple of different translations. This is praise. This is the heart of it. And I want you to notice the two words in capital letter, because that's what this issue is about. It's what this chapter is about. I've seen, the Lord said, I have seen, but. This is the New Living Translation of that phrase. I have seen what they do. And it puts the emphasis by using, it builds the emphasis by using the word anyway. You've said, yeah, do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. What you mean is, I wish I didn't have to. I'm not exactly 100% pleased about this, but I'm going to do it anyway. When we say something like that, we show a tremendous patience and a tremendous commitment to doing it, because I'm going to do it anyway. Means that there's things that I don't like about it, but I'm going to do it anyway. This is a contemporary English version. I know what you were like, but what does it mean to love? Does it mean I'm going to accept you when you become like me, when you travel up and knock on my door and say I'm here? No. This is the offer of such passion and such I just use the word pathos with his creation. That he's saying, what a mess. And I see it, and I smell it, and it stinks, and I hear it, and it grates my ears, and I see you mistreating each other, and I see you taking advantage of each other, and I see you living in the kind of violence that you do. And I could surely do something about it. I could rid the earth of all of this nonsense. I know what you are like, but I will heal you. That's what it means to love. In the last verse there, I want us to realize that the distinction that God is drawing between the peace, those who are near and far, I offer peace, and the fact that he says, look, there is no peace for the sinners. He's talking about, there is no peace for the wicked, I'm sorry. He's talking about the fact that all people are sinners, but some people want to be and enjoy being sinners, and some of us are sad and sorrowful and shameful sinners. And there's a difference in God's eyes. All have sinned, and all do sin and fall short of his glory. But some people, even while we sin, don't want to sin, and we're regretful about our sin. And it brings pain to our soul even while we sin. God said, I can work with those people. I can give them peace. I can offer peace to them. But the people who are in their wickedness are so uninterested and so happy and so gleeful and caught up and consumed. And those people, I can't bring peace to their life. They're like, They're like sand churning in an ocean current or along a beach, and it's just, how do you offer clear water when they're constantly churning it up? And that's the analogy that the Lord uses. I'm not really sure why. This is a Labor Day weekend, and I know this image and this thought has nothing whatsoever to do with our work and our careers and so forth. And I respect and appreciate every person who works and who provides for themselves and their family through their talent that the Lord has given to them. I don't know why the Lord led me to this today, but this is always a relevant question, isn't it? What does it mean to love, and how do we love, and why should we be patient when at times we don't have to be? Why should you be frugal at times when you have money? Well, sometimes it's just the nature. Sometimes it's just the best. And the Lord is showing us that as our example here, as the example of His love, which is then how we should relate to each other as the best that we can. Can we pray together for a moment, and we'll sing.